the Around the NFL podcast. Pre-show grade B-.
Sounds about right. From the Chris Wessling podcast studio, it's Around the NFL. Dan Hanzus here. Room just teeming with heroes. Marc Sessler, Gregg Rosenthal, and in her usual Wednesday slot, Colleen Wolfe.
Guys, I feel like we haven't all done a show together in a while, right?
Missed you, Colleen.
Well, yeah, I missed last week's, which was made abundantly clear to me over and over
on the Thursday show, yes.
And Sunday night.
And now we're all together.
We are, and it just feels right.
Very nice. Very nice. You know what else is very nice? Oh, wait. Turn this up in my headphones.
I was playing this when I signed up for traffic school today.
Why do you need traffic?
Got a speeding ticket.
Ooh.
I had to pay bail, I guess.
Let's go back to school for that.
And now I must go back to school.
It's
so
good
yeah.
for you. It'll be good for you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a wolf. Hey, by the way, I'm calling out. Let's get some more Connie theme song drops.
Yeah.
The ATN podcast at Gmail. Keep making them and send them in, and we'll keep playing them forever and ever and ever.
What about Gregg's?
We also need some video submissions for the plus questions. Step up your game there. Let's go.
Yeah, get weird. Have fun. Enjoy. We know you're creative out there. Be creative. Doesn't have to be a question.
Some of you.
Some.
Many of you.
Right. It doesn't need to be like who is going to replace, the third receiver on the Bucs now that Russell Gage is out.
Right.
Oh God.
We want something fun. We want some fun stuff.
Correct.
Show your personality a bit.
And this is a huge huge thing for us, and we're very excited. We announced just yesterday or Monday night during the MNF recap and news that Around the NFL is going back to London, and we have a show at the Shaw Theatre in London town. Pre-sale was today, Wednesday, and we sold out that bitch, baby.
What?
One day. That's all
That's all
needed.
it took.
I mean, not exactly. Why say that now? It's
close.
Tickets. If you're listening to this, go check. Because we're not just saying this, we got the ticket update. There are some tickets available.
We go.
But by the time you hear this, it might be sold out, or by tomorrow at this time, it might be sold out. So it's quick. It's going.
If you haven't bought tickets yet, you go.
Yeah,
You need
Greg,
that-
why do
yeah.
you need to come in with the factual element?
Well, because I
Dan's
want-
doing he's a showman. We saw
Because
that
there
thing.
might be people who are just hearing it for the first time. They're Connie fans. They're only listening to the Wednesday show.
I won't be at the show, by the way.
The pre-sale code is West.
Unfortunately.
And that'll be fun.
ATN sells out, and not just for the Toyota
Yeah,
Island.
they do.
Ayo.
We'll do it in London for, I think, our 4th live show there. And, yes.
More than that, I would say
5 or 6.
Listen, we could quibble over minor details, but the venue was, I believe, based on our great friend Mike Berkowitz, who does so much awesome behind-the-scenes work for us in the live stuff and beyond.
Sure.
We basically, within minutes, packed that place.
It was instant. And Greg, I don't understand your angle.
And
I'm trying to help out.
He's
First of all,
fact-checking.
if there's like
old
20
numbers cruncher Rosenthal,
If there's
penny
20
pincher.
That thing is
20
sold
seats
out.
left. Yeah, that's going to be fun. It's a big return week, by the way, because I'm just going to make another announcement. We're there for
What?
Ravens Titans. Why not? Just
Okay,
let's
go ahead.
throw it out there. We're going to be back on Sky Sports that Sunday afternoon. I think that's
okay.
exciting for that week. Throw it out there.
I have not been the same personally without the touch of Neil Reynolds.
Yeah, so we'll be back
None of us
working
have
with
been.
him for that game and that weekend.
We were on a
Fun.
planning call yesterday, and we got to the end, and they kind of gave us our schedule, and it was robust, Colleen. There's a lot of things we're doing.
Yeah.
And then Greg started, freestyling and volunteering us
That
for
is not
extra
true.
opportunities.
Oh, how
And I'm like,
nice of him.
Hey, Greg,
I'll-
hang up now, please.
That was not a
We're
volunteer.
good. We're gonna be
I was
very
asking
busy.
our great friend Henry. Basically, is there anything else? Because once we hear no, then you can start
Right.
planning around that.
I'm sad that we will be missing each other by one day, basically. I'll be in
That's
London
not right.
the 3rd, October 3rd to the 9th.
We'll miss you.
It's a sliding doors scenario.
And one more thing. That is amazing that we sold that venue out.
Totally.
Or came close to it that quickly. I also want to say that I see what's going on Twitter. I know what's going on in this building. They send out tweets about, oh, look, our quarterly ratings are up on NFL Network. That's great. And I'm supportive of the media group. You know what I didn't see? I didn't see any tweets about this show and the numbers going up in year 11, and that is a testament to the listeners and the support we've gotten forever and ever and ever on this show. So thank you for continuing to tune in. We appreciate it. Is this a good time to check the sync on these podcast bozos? Yeah, not bad for the bozos.
Well timed.
I see that guy around the hallways all the time.
It doesn't matter how much success we have here. There is a large segment of the decision makers that will always be just, they're the bozos doing their thing in the studio.
Yeah.
But it's the connection between us and the
successful
listeners.
bozos.
That's what's special.
Okay.
You could call us whatever you want because we got a thing here.
First 7 minutes of the show, us talking about us.
And
let's change
that. Since when?
We've been doing this for 37 minutes, by the way, in the studio, just sitting
I
here.
hope it doesn't come up. Just a love to the listeners.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything. You've given us a great life. Let's now get to it. Let's talk about what today's show is with Colleen. She's got a heart out.
Yeah, in like 10 minutes now.
She's got to get down. We had some minor issues getting the show set up this morning.
To say the least.
Math was involved.
Okay.
There's a really tricky situation where there was
we had to add
something like
addition, it's called.
There was an extra number, and that just threw a lot off, for me at least. Anyway, we're going to talk about there's nine 0-2 teams as we enter week 3. Wounded animals, you could call them.
Mm-hmm.
Call them cornered animals. You can't.
And we love animals, so we're not celebrating.
No, not at all. We're going to rank them. We're going to power rank them. Maybe power. Maybe power is not the word. Powerless rank? From hopeless to hopeful.
Okay.
Oh, powerless rankings. Eric, by the way, used up. Eric Roberts does an awesome job as our producer.
Absolutely.
And he's patient with us.
Sure.
And I'll take the fall here. Used up all the patience before we started today. So
I'm here to help, guys.
Gonna just try to take it as easy as possible.
Gritty as teeth. Couldn't you have done this before the show? It would be the same.
You know what would be a great idea, guys? 20 minutes into us sitting here.
So appreciate you too, buddy.
Yeah, I'm loving it. Having a blast.
Are you though? The Powerless Rankings 1 to 9. We're gonna say, what 0-2 teams are we still hopeful, and who is hopeless? We also have, let's count them. It's Primetime Wednesday preview. We have a Thursday night game, a Sunday night game, and 2 more Monday night games. Hold your thoughts on that for a moment, Mark. We'll get to it in time. Okay. Let's do some football. We're gonna get to the previews, and then we could have a conversation.
Total chaos. All right.
It's been a tough week for Mark. Put it that way. All right, let's get to it. Do you want to just do it?
Let's go.
Because there's not a ton of news out there right now.
We're going to hit the biggest news in this segment.
We'll couch it in other parts of the show.
So here are the 0-2 football teams heading into week 3. The New England Patriots, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Houston Texans, the LA Chargers, the Denver Broncos, the Minnesota Vikings, the Chicago Bears, the Carolina Panthers, and the Arizona Cardinals.
That's how many teams?
That's 9.
It's 9. It's 10 if you count the Vikings twice.
Right. That was one of the errors that was made. Very tricky situation. So there are 9 teams. 9. Let's do some math now, and that's what led to so many issues before.
That's 18 losses.
That's good. 9 times 2. Got it. Very nice.
Oh man.
So
we're in a lot of trouble.
What we did with the help of Eric Roberts, we all came up with our individual 1 through 9. So let's start on the positive side of things. Okay. So number 1 in the Powerless Rankings of 0-2 teams, which means we are damn hopeful that there could be a turnaround. Who is that, Eric?
So the number 1 team, assuming that we're working our way from the top down, is the Cincinnati Bengals. 3 of the 4 of you guys gave them the number 9 score, I guess.
By the way, you could hear from Gregg Rosenthal patting him.
Not him.
That he is not the one that gave them the first grade prize.
So I'm assuming he's the number 7 on my list.
Yeah, I had him third. Among these teams.
Really?
Oh, wow.
All right, so let's start talking about why majority ruled on this one with Cincinnati. It seems fairly self-evident that they started 0-2 last year. Now, the difference, I would say, Connie, between this year and last year was, yes, Burrow missed time in the summer, got out to a slow start, a couple ugly performances on offense, and then I think they won 10 in a row or something like But the Burrow health issue hangs over this
Yeah.
team in a really disturbing way.
Because last year they lost to Mitchell Trubisky and Cooper Rush those first 2 weeks, so that kind of looked a little bleak. But it feels a little different this year, seeing Joe Burrow on the sideline with the Theragun and his calf, and this offensive line is still a problem, as it always is. But now with him not 100%, it's even worse. However, it did feel like in the second half of that game against the Ravens, we did sort of see a little bit more of Burrow's touch and the scores to T. Higgins. That gave me a little bit of hope. We just really need to see how the calf works out with him. But of all of these teams, it seems like they have the biggest upside.
So they actually didn't win 10 in a row. They were 5-4 at one point.
Oh, really?
Oh.
And they were 4-4 after they got destroyed by the Browns in prime time. And then wound up 12-4, and it kind of is a reminder of how long the season is and like how much we can change our impression of these teams.
So the 10 in a row was including the playoffs, the 5-4.
Sure, like they went on a streak after that, but last year there was no reason not to completely buy into Joe Burrow and everything he was going to do. And I'm with you like on this calf issue, and it was just like talking about it all summer. Like, is this really going to creep up after they gave him like a month plus of non-activity, and it's like, bang, we're in week 2 and he's limping off the field? I mean, that is a major concern. That's the destiny of your team.
That's why they were third for me, is like there's a significant chance that this calf injury completely ruins their season. Now, what is significant? Is it 5% or is it 35%? There's no way anyone can know, but the way that they're talking about it, and now, Ian Rappaport said it's going to be something where he's not fully healthy for a long time, but that he has been feeling better the last 2 days, and maybe there's more optimism he plays Monday night against the Rams than there was a couple days ago. I don't know, but I'm totally spooked by it, and they're already 0-2. I just don't know how he's going to be and if the team around him is good enough to make up for it, because they've got their own issues even if he is healthy. You mentioned the offensive line. The defensive line has stunk. Like, if Joe Burrow plays in that game against the Rams, the way these two teams have looked, we'll get to the preview, like, that's close to a toss-up game. If Joe Burrow doesn't play any games, they don't have a real backup quarterback. They're suddenly one of the worst offenses in the league. Right, and they're not going to win games, and they're already 0-2. So that's why I put them a little lower, just for the what sounds like now decent chance that Burrow is going to miss multiple games. And maybe this will be the moment we look back on where we were too panicked. But at this moment, I can't feel like I can't not be panicked.
You have him at number 3 right now.
Right, but I think Bengals fans, I think it's fair.
You're very nervous. I agree that it's a time of great consternation for Cincinnati fans. But I guess if we had Zach Taylor coming out yesterday or today and saying he's not playing this week and it's a week-to-week situation, I would have him down. But there's also a chance this guy, these guys are warriors. He's gonna gut it out
publicly.
I get it.
Him not saying anything. It's very different than week 1. He wasn't limping off the field noticeably after week 1. That was week 2. It was on a very specific throw where he was running to the left at the end of the game.
And their run defense is a mess these last 2 weeks.
They could have other issues.
Well, yeah, that's fair too.
That's all.
All these teams.
Now I want to ding them a little bit.
I know I'm getting on Zach Taylor.
Some of that too. It sounds like.
But someone made the point. I think it was. I wish. I think it was Mike Sando talking about different coaches. Like, great coaches don't have the type of seasons that Zach Taylor had the first couple of years. So if you want to say Zach Taylor's not a problem, that's fine. But he's not a 6 or 7 coaches in the league that makes a difference. Or else they wouldn't have been the worst team in the league. It's so
unfair that you keep coming after Taylor when the franchise, the focal point of everything is hurt right now. He's not himself, which limits the entire operation.
But I don't think Joe Burrow was the reason they lost that game. I think he played pretty well in that game, and they lost.
Okay. Just a lot being put at the feet of Taylor, who's had a lot of success.
I just mean, are you going to come up with solutions to dig you out of a tough hole? That's all.
We shall see. All right. Number 2 in our voting, is it a vector voting system?
It might be.
Maybe.
We don't really know what the vector voting is.
Sure. Vector voting system.
Hanging chads.
Yes. Here we go. A little bit of dated ref, but I got it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Go look it up if you're too young to know what I'm talking about.
Number 2, guys, the Los Angeles Chargers. It looks like Greg is the only one that ranked them number 1 on the list.
I had him 2. Where did you guys have him?
2.
Okay.
I had them 3.
All right.
That's fine.
Colleen, why do you have him at 3 as opposed to 2?
Well, because I I don't know why I like the Vikings after watching
All right,
them
save
turn the
that.
ball
But
over.
why do you have the What are you worried about the Chargers to the point that you're not
Because
putting a 2, with all the talent, the quarterback and whatnot?
because I think the defense has been a disaster. And like Justin Herbert can be great and put up all of these points, but like that's if the defense is not going to hold up their end of the bargain in the AFC, like that's going to be a massive issue, especially in that division with the Chiefs too. I mean, they gave up 36 points and 536 yards against the Dolphins in week 1. Obviously, we know how that all played out. And then they only forced 4 incompletions from Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill in an overtime loss.
Yeah.
What?
You have 2 weeks in a row where you have a chance with what we assume is a potential Hall of Fame type talent quarterback, maybe less, but like I love Justin Herbert, and 2 weeks in a row you don't get it done. I feel like that Brandon Staley press conference started to show some heat, some
Yes.
pressure. I just don't like the overall journey for this team. I don't trust them late in games. You're in a tough division. You're in a very tough, top-heavy AFC. But yet they're 2 on my list because of the roster.
Yeah.
The roster is great. I
I
just
think
kind
they're
of
okay. They're okay.
I want to imagine this team with, and I hate to say it, like with Sean Payton. Would it look different?
They've lost 2 games by a combined 5 points to 2 decent teams. It's not like they were heavy favorites in Tennessee. The defense is very concerning, but the offense has been great. I mean, they're top 5 in success rate. They're top 5 in yards per drive, points per drive. I think Kellen Moore is pushing the ball downfield with Justin Herbert. Like, I've kind of seen what I've wanted out of the offense. These next 2 games are massive, though. We'll get to them in the previews, but they have a bye week in week 5. But before that, it's Vikings, Raiders. Then after the bye, Cowboys, Chiefs. So it's like you feel like you got to get these 2.
You need to be 2-2
It is
before the
tough
break.
to be 0-2.
Week 5 bye. That's early.
I don't like that either.
Nobody wants that. All right, who do you have at number 3?
Number 3, guys, a little tease from Colleen there, the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay, I had the Vikings
Rude.
at 3 as well.
Okay.
Up high on this.
Hey, well, no, I had it too.
Okay, well, we're both okay with them. But
Right.
here's the thing. Here's the tricky thing. The Chargers and the Vikings are playing this week.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you just said it, Greg. Like, the defense of the Chargers, how's it going to fare when Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins, Kirk O'Chains, and the Vikings need a win just as badly, but they're playing in Minnesota? Like, the Chargers, by not finding a way, Greggy, to close out those first 2 games now put themselves in a really tough spot, because I think Minnesota, as we know last year, everything went their way in these one-score games. Now they've lost 2 one-score games, but I think they're going to be in a lot of games again. And I don't think they're a hopeless team. I think they're a middling team, but a team that could beat pretty much anybody on any given day outside of maybe 3 or 4 teams. So I think they're kind of hanging around on the fringes of the playoff race come December or so, but I'm not like high on them.
I had the Vikings as my 4th team,
Same.
but it gets foggy down at this point in the list, anyways. The Vikings tested Philadelphia. I mean, that was a weird game, but it's like you trust their offense. Like they can just do so much through the air, and Justin Jefferson gives you a chance every week. Kirk Cousins is better than people think. I think their defense under Flores, there's a lot of young players, especially in the secondary, but I kind of like their defense and what's happening to some degree, and I think they can get better. I think the Vikings experience will be frustrating no matter what, though.
To me, they're like, don't look any different than they looked a year ago when they won 13 games.
Well-
And we were beating that boring drum for a while. That's like, there's not much separating this from like a 7 or 8 win team. And that's kind of what they look like to me. Defensively, I think they have chance to get better, but their interior offensive line was terrible a year ago. It's been terrible this year. They signed
Awful.
Dalton Reisner, who was, too high on my top 100 free agents list in retrospect, because he was in like the 50s or 60s. But they just signed him this week, which is a sign at least they're trying to get better there, and I think he will help them. But I have him a little lower because it just feels like they're aiming for the middle, whereas some of these other teams, we haven't gotten to one of them, but the Chargers, the Bengals, I would throw in there, have a chance to be towards the top.
The
at
offensive
least.
line doesn't look good. I think they were dealing with some injuries against the Eagles, if I remember that correctly. But the run game, there's no balance whatsoever on that offense. So they need to find balance. It doesn't make sense really for them to try and run the ball this week against the Chargers, considering that the Chargers have given up 666 passing yards already.
Eerie.
666 doesn't seem great.
It's
I'm not
demonic.
gonna lie.
No.
What it is.
Yeah.
So could be an
Super
issue.
troubling.
Okay. So that we're going to have a very good 0-3 team. We're going to have an 0-3 team that I wouldn't stick a fork in between the loser of that game.
Okay,
ultimately.
I'm with you on that. How about number 4 on these rankings?
All right, guys, coming in behind the Vikings is the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I had them at 3.
I had them at 2. Maybe showing some homerism here, but to me, they're a more complete, better team on a neutral field than the Vikings and the Burrow thing I talked about. So they've looked like a better team than they were in 2022, but they're still sloppy. They're still a notch below, I think, a team like Miami or certainly Buffalo in their own division. And even if that defense is great, they've had so many injuries now on both sides of the ball. That's all concerning. But they do have enough ingredients, I think, including the coaches, that they can get better and better as the season goes.
I feel like they need to win games like 17-16 or 17-14. Like, I don't trust their offense. We watched them together on Sunday night, and I was like visibly and verbally agitated by what they are on offense. They feel poorly coached on it. Like, I just feel like this is not to me like a team that I trust to do anything more than maybe win 8 or 9 games. Their defense is absolutely solid. But that's it. You're on one side of the ball. I think, Greg, you like Mac Jones far more than I do. We will see.
I have him at number 5, and that is like, yeah, what we've seen so far is kind of meh, and this is going to be interesting because they're going to the Meadowlands where they've had so much success, even post Tom Brady. So we'll see what version of the Pats shows up. But like, I don't know, maybe it is with Mac Jones a little bit of the disconnect. Like I see it, you see it. Like he is capable of leading drives, putting points on the board. If the scheme is right, he could put the pass where it needs to be. Sometimes it takes more work than a more athletic type guy, but he'll get out of the pocket and he'll hit the throw and they'll be able to move change. However, I think the thing that I was thinking about today is because he's not special, like he's not a true playmaker, it kind of caps the whole thing. And since there's not so much talent around him, it's going to be really hard for them week to week to put up points and put so much pressure on the defense, which to me, they are a 7 or 8 win team because of that.
It just doesn't feel like they have anything like special like they need more chutzpah with the offense. There needs to be like another gear to it. So when I watch, it just kind of feels like a little flatliney.
They're condensed. They need their special to be on defense.
Yeah.
And that's tough to do in 2022 because suddenly you can be down 2 of your top 3 corners like they were against Miami, and it's like, then you're not going to be special. And they're thin on the offensive line. That's my number one concern. I think Max played pretty well despite it. I think they're quite well coached on offense because I think they're under-talented and they've had open receivers. It's such a difference between now and a year ago, but you're counting on guys like Demario Douglas, and he's a 6th-round little rookie who you bench, and then you're like doing the Belichick thing where you're spiting your nose to spite your face. What is it with the nose and the face?
You're cutting off your
Keep
nose
your nose
to spite your face.
Keep your nose.
I don't know why
Yeah.
anyone would have
Horrific.
done that historically or where the phrase came from. I don't know why you did that.
Narcissus said it.
I think they
sure.
could rally though. I
Not
think
sure.
they could rally.
All right, where are we at? Number 5?
Looking at himself in that pond.
Yeah, it's getting bad now. It's getting rough. Now it's going to start getting uglier. But right
Getting
now,
late early.
it's almost like we're at the last spot, for me anyway, where I have any amount of hope. What do you have?
I agree.
Up next, guys, around the Patriots is the Broncos.
That's exactly where I put
Yep.
them. Number
Yep,
5.
it was
5 for me
fives
too.
across the board. I think
Fives
Dan had them
across
at
the board.
6.
I flipped Denver and New England just because they've been
Rude.
proficient on offense, that they've been, they've had moments where they just look better. Russell Wilson does look better.
What was that?
That was not the wounded animal I thought
I
it was,
liked
guys.
it though. To me, that was
I planned a little transition and make it a little more wounded at this point. That was
no.
a
I
little
like that.
too
That
much
was the
birdie.
Broncos. I want that as part of the Broncos profile on this podcast all season.
It's like a nasally hummingbird.
Can we hear it again?
Yeah, I think it was Kevin Saunders, their general manager.
Uh,
Oh, poor
like-
thing. It's like a little gerbil, like
Yeah.
asking for water, like the water thing is
It's like a
empty.
cute
But-
little thing.
God.
Yeah,
There's a
it's
little
like
more
an-
animal to it at the
yeah.
end.
It's like, Sean, can you stop playing little Jordan Humphrey and Adam Troutman from the Saints for 50 snaps a game?
That's what
please?
Greg would be as an animal.
there are things to be more hopeful about, like with the Patriots, quite honestly, where the offense looks like it's a little more professionally run than a year ago. Russell Wilson has hit on some deep balls. He's got some chemistry. And there's that side of it. But again, I thought there were obviously also, Greg, a lot of red flags about how that game played out in week 2 down the stretch. And I was like, is this team junk? Is that what's going on here?
I think they're squarely in the middle to like the lower middle class. You know, they've lost 2 games by how many points? A combined 3 points. Now, one of them, you know, the Hail Mary made that look better, but they're to me more what you guys are talking about with the Patriots. I said this before the season. There's truly nothing special about this team. There's no unit. There's no group on the team that's above average. They're all like hoping to be average. The defense, I think, is well below average at this point.
I just went on ESPN to check out some results for the Broncos, their schedule, and one of the videos that popped up, Jeff Saturday, Sean Payton, and Russell Wilson's partnership can work. So did it happen? Like, did Jeff Saturday actually leave ESPN and become the head coach of the Colts?
Yes,
Then returned.
that did happen.
Yeah.
Are we sure, though?
Well,
Like,
you're right.
are we certain that happened? Was that potentially a
It's
simulation?
like one of those.
I
what,
felt
like,
the simulation. I was there for it.
It's like, how did last night end? I don't necessarily remember. It's kind of that sort of situation.
Like, are we
Was that real?
Just
you know.
this is like an honest question. Can we say with total certainty that it happened? And if you
It seems
say
hard to
yes, I'll
believe.
believe you. But there's also, it makes way more sense that of course that didn't happen because that would be insane. But there's also, if we all collectively kind of remember it, is that the Streisand effect? Is that what they call it?
Streisand?
Yeah, the Streisand effect.
What is that effect?
You're heading into
While
waters
you-
that I'm unsure of.
Yeah.
Dan.
All right, here's
But while you look up
Yeah.
that, the Broncos,
Yes, the Broncos.
now that they lost to the Commanders and the Raiders, both at home, they have coming up in their next 8 games. They play the Dolphins, the Bills, and the Chiefs twice. So
Broncos
they're going to be
country
pretty
was right.
wounded for a while.
The Streisand effect is an unintended consequence of attempts to hide, remove, or censor information, where the effort instead backfires by increasing awareness of that information.
That's attached to Barbara Streisand.
Yeah, I
or
don't
something
think,
that happened
I don't
to
think
her?
that has
Well,
anything
how?
to do with what you were talking about. But that's an interesting
Why did
little
you,
nug.
Why did your brain go to the Streisand?
It's actually fascinating. Check out the wiki page. She had a beachside estate
Okay.
in Malibu,
Yeah.
and it got super on her radar that somehow there was either photos of it that got out
Right.
there, and she made a big deal trying to suppress those photos because she didn't want it. She wanted privacy, and instead by sending it up like legal back channels, it became a
Oh.
big story, and then everyone knew where her house.
This
was.
happens a lot in sports media. You'll hear a big time apology from like a mid-tier coach or like an assistant or a player
Mhm.
like explaining something. I'm so sorry, but no one ever knew about it, and that actually ends up
Yep.
making it worse.
But you're right. That's not what it is.
Mm.
But by the end of this episode, I'll remember what it was. That
Okay. Well,
That's
great.
We can look forward to that.
Yes. All right. Let's.
And we'll talk about Russ Wilson plenty on the show, but I'm not seeing it much different.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
All right. Number 6. So now we go into the kind of like the area of the damned. We're moving
Okay.
from hopeful to edging towards hopeless potentially, which is.
Oh,
I
my
don't
God.
like that.
No.
I don't like that one. I don't like that one. That's too much.
Oh.
That one hurt too much. I didn't like that one. I didn't like that one.
We don't love it. I'm sorry.
Uh,
Boo.
What are we doing here?
all right. Let's go. Number 6.
Behind the Broncos, guys, the only team with a unanimous across the board, all the same vote, the Panthers.
Okay.
Number 4, I guess, 4 points.
I think
across
it's
the board.
tough to all have a team in the same place at this point in the exercise. That's a
Yeah.
good job by us or not? I don't know.
I like
It-
the way
I
we're
think it's
aligned.
because like no one believes their offense is going to be above average at any point, even if Bryce Young starts playing better. But they have like a truly capable defensive roster, especially in the front 7. Now they keep losing guys. Shaq Thompson now is gone, and we'll see when J.C. Horn gets back in quarterback. But like they have a legit front line that's gonna like make games uncomfortable for other teams, and that's what they got.
You remember when Steve Wilkes, like 8 months ago or whatever, had this team like destroying people with the run?
I'm sorry. There's 7 people taking photos of us through this.
Hello.
I know.
There
Gulch
was,
Everyone.
right now.
there was more of them
Yes.
before. You missed them.
and
There
I
were
was
actually
able to
kids there.
ignore that.
Yeah.
Okay,
I-
now there's more.
But now there's a whole other crew.
They wheel people in from these schools and these programs. Like they're often standing outside our cubicle.
Wheel people in.
We're
What?
in a
It's like
we're in a
It's like a
fishbowl
tourist
little
group.
bit.
It is a little bit. So
And-
you can't also the glass at the Chris Wesseling studio is a bit tinted, so
Yeah.
we can't really see them, but they can stare at us and
It's very nice
they're
that they're
judging
here.
us.
It's
They can
very
judge
cool.
us.
Mhm. I
very
judge
nice
you
of
guys
them.
all the time when I
Yeah.
walk past. I
Well,
texted Dan, I'm watching you yesterday.
Constantly being judged wherever you go.
Go ahead, Mark. Sorry about that. Though.
No, I was
I
saying,
just- I
are
couldn't-
they
yeah.
even more formidable than what Steve Wilkes had them doing down the stretch last year when they were blowing people away with
Definitely
the
not
ground
yet.
attack? It's
Definitely
like
not yet.
the offense is more punchless. I do like the defense to some degree, but it's like, cool, they're not as good as New England's defense. So it's like if New England's going to have a tough time surviving on one side of the ball, this team feels a little lost to me.
Well,
I'm not sure Frank Reich is the savior some always project him to be.
They have no playmakers, though. Like, they have no one at the skill positions. I mean, they're going to have to win with Miles Sanders and their defense. And it's like, with Bryce Young behind that offensive line, he's already been sacked 6 times. Like, and he's a rookie on top of
He
it
was out of
with no
practice
one to
today.
throw the ball to, really.
He might
like,
not
it's
play
tough.
Sunday.
They
Here's
need to get their guys more involved.
What are you?
Sub
what's
power
happening to
rankings.
you, by the way.
Early season hit targets. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go through all of us. I don't know Colleen yet. For me, Desmond Ridder.
Yeah.
For Mark, it's Frank Reich. That's the second time in 2
I
shows.
have
you're
mentioned
very
it more
right.
than once, and I do think
would
it's a
say
nice
Zach
person.
Taylor
Yeah.
would be for Greg.
We've met Frank
Hit
Reich,
targets.
like a totally nice individual. Loved him as a backup quarterback, but like I just think it's kind of like, oh, Frank Reich's there. There's all this stability. Like, is there? Like, what's so stable about what happened to last year's Colts, and what's so stable about this year's Panthers?
It could
Show it to me.
It could take some time. These two teams back to back reminds me. Ejiro Evero went from the Broncos to the Panthers. That Broncos defense looks a lot worse, and I like what I've seen out of the Panthers defense. So I think they have a nice coaching staff there.
Before we get to the very bottom, because I know there are a lot of people screaming at their listening devices when I said Streisand effect. They're like, "That's not it, idiot."
Right.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking of the Mandela effect.
What?
An observed phenomenon in which a large segment of the population misremembers a significant event or shares a memory of an event that did not actually occur. That's Jeff Saturday.
Well, what happened with Mandela?
Yeah.
That he
Is it that Mandela?
I think it was that he died in prison. It was something like that.
I like that you can't remember, and that's the
Right.
whole the whole thing.
I thought you were going to go
that
like
doesn't matter as much.
go
It's
like
more what the
Stockholm
theory
syndrome
is.
with us here at this point, like Symbionese Liberation Front.
It was
scenario.
it was something like I
That
believe that's
you
what
nailed
was.
it.
Yeah.
Everyone thought he died in prison, which of course he didn't. He was
The
out.
whole thing was
at
his
a-
release. Yeah.
yeah, 20 plus years.
But it
Wow.
was kind of a pre-internet phenomenon, I think, for the most part. All right, number 6.
Colleen's heart out, not looking good.
We got 10 minutes, guys.
Final 3, guys. Up next is the Texans.
Okay.
Looks like Mark had them one spot below the rest.
I believe in a different team more than the Texans at this moment.
I can guess. I think
That makes
C.J. Stroud's been promising. I think Will Anderson's promising. Like the idea of their defense is promising. I don't know if it's totally showed up yet because of injuries. Like they're a team I'm more excited to watch, but we're at the point where it would be shocking to me if any of these teams were close to a playoff run.
Right, I'm with you on that.
Oh yeah, there's no way. I
This
mean,
is
Sure.
a team under construction.
It's the NFL, Connie.
Yeah.
There's always a way.
I
That's
did
why-
like
that's why we
that
get
CJ Stroud was like taking shots downfield though to Nico Collins and Tank Dell, and he like hurt his shoulder and he was behind a bad offensive line, and even when their offensive line is 100%, they're still like not anywhere near 100% effective. So
Yeah,
they just need. It's a nice preview.
I know.
they're as banged up as any offensive line out there with what they thought they'd have coming
Yeah.
in. And but Bobby Slowick, I kind of like this. It's a bit of a Shanahan system, and Stroud did a lot, I thought, in the last game. But you're right, under construction.
Under construction, but also the Colts aren't very good, even if they've shown a little bit more than some expected. You don't want to amounts. What was it? Their home opener to be down 28-10 to the Colts at the half in a game in which the starting quarterback of the Colts went out, like in the second quarter. Like it was a tough start.
Yeah.
But it's just the start.
It's a fair point that if you're taking moral victories out of a 2-score loss at home to the Colts, you've got a ways to go. But this season is all about just developing their young players, and Collins, Dell, Stroud. If they have a legit passing attack this season, like that's something to hold on to.
Yeah. So now here's where it gets sad. Number 8 on this list.
narrowly edging out the last place vote, guys. The
Yeah.
Cardinals. There was 1-3 vote, so I think that was Mark's.
I had them up at 3.
Yeah.
I don't know, like
What? You had him.
I had the Cardinals above the Texans.
I think that's fine.
I don't think there's a big
Oh,
problem.
I had the
I thought you
Cardinals
had
at
him
2.
third overall.
No. I had
Oh, okay.
just one notch
like,
above it. It's like, look at like you.
So you had him at 7.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah.
Like I think part of it is perception. Like everyone assumes like you're doing this like vague like ghost tank job scenario, which you're not. Like the players and coaches can't pull that off in the NFL necessarily. But like you've got a lead over the Commanders in the fourth quarter. They're spicy to some degree. You've got a lead over the Giants, a playoff team from a year ago, in the fourth quarter. And like I'm not in love with Josh Dobbs, but he played better. He played pretty well in the first half against the Giants. Start there. Secondly, I think you've got a defense that has disrupted quarterbacks 2 weeks in a row, and I'm labeling them as like the third worst team in the NFL. So let's not.
Yeah.
This is not a sell job. I just think there's a little bit more going on than the Texans.
They are
right now.
I mean, they are tanking, and the reason they are tanking, it's not the players and coaches' fault, but that's how you give up 5 scores in 5 possessions, 4 touchdowns and a field goal to lose a game that's in your back pocket because they don't have enough players. They don't have the scheme. And Jonathan Gannon's their new head coach. He was the DC of the Eagles. Troubling for a meltdown of that proportion. Again, it's early, but I think because of the lack of talent, it's just like
Yeah.
I had him at 9. I had him buried just because there's just nothing there. And Dobbs, I think, has played at a pretty high level, all things considered. But what if that comes down a little bit?
Yeah.
I just think that they're an easier watch than I expected. Like they've been a little bit more fun. I thought it was going to be really, really bleak, and I actually enjoyed watching Josh Dobbs like muscle his way into the end zone last week. He looked really good. I was like, wait, that's Josh Dobbs? And that linebacker that they have, Dennis Gardeck, like he's
The
pretty
Barbarian.
He's pretty good.
He's been great.
So they have a couple bright spots on there, whereas I put the Bears number last, and
They've
they're
like
terrible.
snap for snap through 2 games. The Cardinals have absolutely played better than the Bears and the Texans. I don't know if that's going to continue. I don't know if there's much hope, so I put him last anyways. But yeah, Dobbs is actually a good example of them not tanking. That's the front office. They brought him in right before the season. He is miles better than I think Colt McCoy or Clayton Tune could have been. He's running Deshaun Watson's offense because the same coordinator as last year, as well as Deshaun Watson. And so that's them trying to win these games. It's not going to work, I don't think, but I think that's fair to point out that they're not truly tanking.
But why didn't they target Josh Dobbs and give him a full offseason?
I think, well, first of all, he might not have been as available
I'm
until
sure he
the
was
Browns
probably
were
available.
the Browns were super impressed by Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
I think that did change
I
things.
think that was part of it.
They liked Dobbs.
And they probably were a little hopeful that the guys in-house, Colt and Clayton Tune, would have been better.
Yeah, but Dan, you're right.
I mean, but it raises my point, the whole thing about, I know it's a side point about Watson, though. It's like, within 2 weeks, this guy is playing quite well for the Cardinals.
But if you're going to bring any quarterback in, like in late August, like that's odd.
To be your week 1 start.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
It's
So
extremely odd. It's almost as odd as when the Browns traded their week 1 starter before week 2, Charlie Fry, in 2000.
well, they had Derek Anderson sitting there,
13.
who
I know.
almost won offensive
Similar-
player
It
of the
still
year
was
then.
weird.
But yeah, it was
Similar
weird.
dysfunction.
It was quite weird.
You could connect those things in a number of ways. Yes, and the Bears, let's hit on the Bears quickly because we got to take a break, and then we're going to hit some previews. The Bears are a scary mess right now. 2 losses. The offense is not looking good. The quarterback is not looking good or confident. So we have this in 2 parts, Eric? All right, let's listen to Fields talk about the early struggles of the offense and the team.
Of course, things that I didn't like, I felt like, I wasn't necessarily playing my game. Felt like I was kind of robotic and, not playing like myself. So, my goal this week is just to, say F it and just go out there and, play football how I know how to play football. And that's not, that includes thinking less and just going out there and, playing off of instincts rather than just of, so much, so to say, info in my head, data in my head, and literally just going out there playing football.
Some coded language in there, perhaps. Let's listen to a little more where it becomes even more clear where he's going.
When you say thinking less, what do you think was causing you to think so much, maybe think too much?
Could be, coaching, I think. But, at the end of the day, it makes it, they're doing their job when they're giving me, what to look at, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I, can't be thinking about that when the game comes. I prepare myself throughout the week, and then when the game comes, it's, it's time to play free at that point. So you know, just thinking less and playing more.
Not good.
Sounds like someone got their nails done in that room. A lot of typing.
It's
You
tough.
want to give us some?
I don't
Connie?
have my nails aren't that long anymore, so it doesn't
Bummer,
work.
bummer,
I cut
bummer.
them.
I feel like film Twitter has been talking about Justin Fields more than any player in the league, and like JT O'Sullivan, who does the QB school, which is great, kind of been talking about exactly what Justin Fields is talking about there, where he can see him thinking. He can see him thinking through his steps, his progress, and he's just not letting go of the ball. He's not always seeing receivers, but when he is seeing it, he's not letting it fly, and they haven't been doing any designed runs. It's just been very
impossible.
Right, it's been very confusing. It's almost like they're going to reach the same realization they did last year. It's like, let's build the whole ship out of the run game here and see what happens, because that worked pretty well.
What if they build the whole plane out of a black box? No, I think that with Fields, like he said it. He said like, oh, I don't know, maybe it's the coaching, and he also said this week's going to be different. I'm going to F it. I'm going to be myself. Is the coaching staff on board with that? Is that a conversation they had? Or is he kind of saying I'm going rogue a little bit this week because I don't believe in the system that I'm in?
That's what I think.
That is an interesting situation, Connie.
Yeah.
You've said it all. You have a fitting to get to, but also a little teaser here.
Some admin stuff to take care of. Packed schedule today.
A teaser. Connie is going to have a prominent role in our Thursday NFL Plus Dreamatorium app. So make sure, if you're not checking that show out, if you need more Connie in your life,
this is the avenue.
That's
Thursday,
That's the one.
Dreamatorium. Let's play this out into the break. We'll be back and hit all the previews for Week 3 Primetime. Bye, Connie.
Bye, guys.
There's a wolf. There's a wolf. There's a wolf. Can't blow your house down. There's a wolf. There's a wolf. There's a wolf. Can't blow your house down. Don't mess with her. Don't do it. Don't do it, stupid. Don't mess with her.
All right, we are back, and we have 4 games to talk about. Primetime on Wednesdays. We preview the primetime games. Let's start with Thursday Night Football, and it is the New York Giants, Big Blue themselves, after a stirring comeback win over the Cardinals.
Phrasing.
Yeah, they had they had to win that game. Let's start here. They're going up to San Francisco to face a 49ers team that's playing as good as any team in football on a short week in prime time without, most likely, their best player, Saquon Barkley. If they did not win that Cardinals game, this season feels like it's dirt nap time. So now you have a little bit to play with here. And Greg, you got the 10-point spread here. So San Francisco, a heavy favorite in this game. And is there any path? And this is really for Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit more than anyone else. I'm asking this question. Is there any path to this game not being a 3-score difference by halftime?
Yes. I mean, the Los Angeles Rams, I thought, played the 49ers to a draw more or less for 3 quarters. And so why can't the Giants? Well, there are many reasons why. But the reason they could keep it close would be Danny Franchise. Danny Dimes, I mean, you gave him all that money. He's your franchise quarterback. Can he be like a Matthew Stafford that lifts everyone around him? He did it against Arizona, and everyone will say, okay, it's the Cardinals. And that's a totally fair point. But the throws he was making were really high-quality throws into tight windows. Jalen Hyatt had 2 impressive catches, so you'd like to see more out of him, a rookie speedster who kind of changes their offense. Waller had a nice game. Danny Dimes even made some defenders miss in the open field, which is not usually his bag. I know he's a fast runner, but he's not usually like an agile runner. I was like, oh, okay, was not familiar with this from Danny Dimes. So their offense showed enough in that game that if he can play at that level with the receivers they have, it is a little deeper. They could make this at least watchable.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, Greg. I think it's which team, which New York Giants is closer to reality. The first 6 quarters we saw from this season. I thought the Cowboys game was a weather game. It was a little fluky. The Giants just got caught in a vortex where it's like, I don't buy that as their identity. Or the 2 quarters where they amassed 294 points, converted 6 third
Yards.
downs in a row. Not points.
That would be.
That would have.
I'd be picking the Giants.
I
in
would
that
say they
scenario.
would have a chance if they
Yeah.
score 294 points in a game. But you saw everything that you just mentioned. It's like Darren Waller, like a summertime delight, like vanished early on in the season. There were health issues. It's like he started to play. Hyatt adds this big element to your offense. He had that 58-yard catch. It's like I think Daniel Jones is a top 3 quarterback on the ground. Like he really can. That element matters. And it's like that said, like the Niners have been extremely consistent. Brock Purdy has been answered a lot of questions. Like they've got so many weapons. Like I'm not in love with the Giants defense
No, I'm more
and
worried
what they
about
did against the
that
Cardinals in the first half of that game. It's like that version of the Giants gets wiped out on the road on Thursday night when teams just lean on what they do well or innately.
Brian Daboll was the coach of the year last year, and then week 1 just felt so out of place because it just, in addition to getting horrifically embarrassed at home by a rival, they just didn't seem prepared for the moment. But that feels like an outlier because the first half, again, yes, I think there is some maybe residual hangover / you're going on the road and everyone's picking you to win, and everyone's saying the Cardinals are the worst team and could go winless or be the number 1 pick. And all of a sudden, they kind of punch you in the mouth. And I thought that game was such a great example, again, of Daboll and the ability at halftime to make adjustments. And you're right about Hyatt. What do they do? First play call. We're getting our asses kicked. What is it, 20-0 at halftime? And they call a bomb. And Hyatt pulls it in. And almost immediately, they score pretty quickly after that. The whole scene shifts. And I thought that was another thing they added in that they kind of got away from in the first half was designed kind of runs or option runs for Danny Dimes. And once you added that in and he was feeling good throwing the ball, that's where you see it. You see why the Giants gave him all that money. So the path, as we pivot over to the Niners side of it, is that Danny Dimes carries that confidence and Daboll has a game plan that is really, especially if Barkley's out, built around utilizing his dual threat abilities. The Niners, Greg, are going to be obviously a very difficult opponent because everything has worked so far. Brandon Ayuk a little dinged up here, but Christian McCaffrey looks as good as ever.
Yep.
They're going to be tough to stop. They just really are.
Yeah, that matchup when the 49ers have the ball is a little hard to imagine the Giants surviving. But through 2 games, the 49ers are 29th in pass blocking. Purdy's been under a lot of pressure. They have a new right tackle, Colton McKivitz, who's really struggled almost as much as their old right tackle, Mike McGlinchey, who's in Denver and has been one of the worst tackles in the league, is struggling with the Broncos. So 29th in pass blocking. Can we show up Kayvon Thibodeau? I'm pretty high on Kayvon, but he's had virtually no impact through 2 weeks and the rest of their pass.
I mean, I'm twice your age plus a few years. That's concerning.
Right. Yeah, you guys are on the way out.
Wow, that is a deep
Man, he
cut.
really is the worst. What a terrible interview.
That is not fair. I wasn't there to
Well, no, Greg, we lived it.
bridge the generational gap.
That is the most Rosenthal response ever.
I'm having
No, that
fun.
isn't fair.
I'm having
It's like
fun.
Dan and I,
We were there.
We went through that
We
personal
lived it.
Vietnam together, while you were home stateside.
As you
eating
defend
ice
a
cream.
total stranger football player. We're your buds. You're supposed to go, yeah, what's his problem? He was so mean to you guys.
This is what I was talking about. I'm the bad guy. I play the heel. I'm just saying, when he was here, we were all great friends, right? Or no, wait, he said we weren't. Just give me something, Kayvon, because I'm worried. There's a lot
You have
of
more Kayvon? That's fun going down memory lane with Kayvon Thibodeau.
The difference between me and you guys will feel it. Like once I leave this, you guys are gonna feel like you know me, and it's not because I wanna be you guys' friends, but it's because I'm authentic.
But you do want to be our friends, right?
I don't. I'm authentic.
You were there for that one, Greg.
I love that. I thought that was in great spirit. Well, yeah, we need more.
One
we need
solo
more.
tackle for Kayvon in 2 weeks.
We need more because their linebackers actually have played a little better than I expected, but they're vulnerable. Deontay Banks got lit up a little. Ayuk, you mentioned, might not play in this game because of his shoulder injury. Sounds like an AC joint sprain mostly.
But there's a matching situation, because if you're going to talk about the Niners' offensive line, like the Giants' offensive line, up until their 4-touchdown surge in the second half last week, has been a disaster this season.
Jones has been sacked 10 times.
And Steve Wilkes, I have noticed a little difference out of him with 49ers. Definitely blitzing more, and he's just had a real nice knack in both games of getting free rushers to the quarterback. So that's concerning.
All right, let's and we all like the Niners, I assume. Thursday night's weird though. That's one other thing. maybe it's a weird Thursday night situation, or we're watching a game.
I bet there's a lot of
competitive.
Giants fans in the Big Bell Bottom. Bet that
think
might
so?
be about. Yeah.
That's a tough travel ask. You're going on a Thursday night.
I just think they live.
And you
nice
got to
little
go
weekend
No,
there.
you got to
in the
go
Bay
to
Area.
San Francisco and then drive like an hour and 12 minutes to get.
I'm
to the
saying they
actual
live
stadium.
there. They live there. You know, the transplants.
Oh,
Maybe.
the old
Giants travel well. In that stadium is often has good visiting representation.
I will say my fear is that this will have a good a healthy deficit for the Giants at halftime again, and it might not be that easy to come back. But I'd like to be wrong.
They gone.
Where are we on? Where are we at on Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit? By the way, they can't seem to lock in chemistry wise.
I think I care a little bit less about the announcing team than you two seem to at times. They're kind of vanilla to me. They don't have a deep connection, but I don't think I think people are killing Herbstreit. He's fine.
He's fine.
He's fine.
I'm not killing it.
No,
I'm talking about their chemistry.
but I hear
Yeah.
people saying like, "Oh, it could have been someone else." It's like, sure, it could have been someone else. He's fine.
He's fine. It's a primetime spot. So if you're doing the power rankings of different announcer groups, Al helps this group overall, although he's not the same as he once was. But they're more in the middle, and you want the prime times to be the best 4 or 5 groups. And to me, they're more in the middle.
Does
There's
Al,
a,
does
there's
Al
a lot
care,
of
Greg?
second,
Does
third.
Al care as much as he used to about this?
Oh, I think he cares.
I'm not saying he doesn't. I think he is one of the top 2 or 3 guys ever at what he does. It's just like, is this a bit of a mail-in job for the whole scenario?
Ooh.
No, I don't know.
I'm not going to go there. I think
it's
This is why am I talking? I don't. Now I sound.
You said you don't care.
I know.
Yeah.
I sound anti Al Michaels. I think he's like a legend.
My moderate hot take is that even if Al isn't throwing a 98-mile-an-hour heater anymore, he could throw 92 and he could look.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
I think Al should still be the Sunday Night Football guy with Chris, and I think Tirico and Herbstreit maybe even would have been a better team.
This is like
But
you were
that ship
so
has
pro
sailed.
Tirico a couple years ago.
I like Tirico.
Okay.
I
You
like
just like Al more.
Al to me still is box office, and I wish he was still on Sunday
Yeah.
night. I just don't like Thursday night now. Michaels doesn't.
I will say though,
working for me.
if the prime executives are listening, and I know they're huge fans of the show.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I do love me a little next gen stats feed with Walker on Thursdays. I want it on more games. I just love that view.
Good.
And you mix it in. It's a fun way to watch a game.
All right, let's move to Sunday Night Football. It is the Pittsburgh Steelers back in prime time against the Las Vegas Raiders. This is at Allegiant. Is it Allegiant Stadium. And
this is a Sunday
it's
night game in
interesting.
week 3.
It's an interesting spot. You get the Raiders here in prime time. There's always a good vibe, I think, in that building. I like that stadium. I like the vibe on prime time games. It's usually pretty hot and spicy. Pittsburgh fans are maniacs, so they will travel in there. You're going to get some good vibes in there. So I like the idea of the setup here. I do not like the way the Raiders played on Sunday. They got boat raced by the Bills. However, I don't think there are maybe 3 or 4 teams in the whole league, I think, that would have went up to Buffalo and played well. I think they were kind of put in a very bad spot by what happened in week 1 for Buffalo at the Meadowlands. So then you got to figure out, Mark, what's going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is this team, they can put them in your own backyard at Acrisure, whatever that is, and with that crowd going ape poop, they can still get hot. They can make plays on defense and steal a game like they did. But are they going to travel? And is this offense, which has been a major question mark, are they going to be able to do enough on the road in this spot?
Yes, I think they can. I mean, if we're going to make an argument for the Giants against the Niners, I absolutely think that Pittsburgh.
We didn't really, by the way.
We're looking for ways they can, puncture on the road, and I think that the Raiders are very vulnerable. When I trusted the Raiders or began to trust them a year ago, it was based on a ground game that
Pittsburgh.
a couple times. Well, but I'm saying why I trusted the Raiders here goes.
I got you.
When they punctured people on the ground, like in 2 games, they ran for 61 yards in week 1, in a win over a pretty flatline Denver Broncos team, and 55 against the Bills. And Josh Jacobs, who should be the centerpiece of your offense, doesn't show up. That concerns me. Their offensive line, which they did very little to change over the course of the offseason, concerns me. And you're going to get this version of Jimmy G in a post-Kyle Shanahan universe that's throwing interceptions. They marched down the field against Buffalo for that opening touchdown and then no-showed the rest of the game. I don't trust them to absolutely just take care of business.
Is he going to do it?
No, because these are two strange teams.
But
But I think
nobody's saying like
but
the
the-
Raiders are expected to take care of business here.
the version of
They are
Pittsburgh.
shockingly favored by 2.5. Maybe that shouldn't be
I don't
shocking,
think
but
that's shocking at home.
This is a very. I feel like this is a very.
I am shocked. I think the Steelers are significantly better.
I would say based on what we've seen, just what we've seen from the Steelers, I don't see a lot of reasons because you're not going to score 14 points with your defense very often.
I see what you're saying.
I am very concerned about their ability to go on the road and score points. Like, what confidence should we have to take out of those first 2 weeks?
It's partly matchup based. They played the 49ers and Browns. There's not much confidence.
Okay.
Kenny Pickett needs to calm down.
Those are two top 3 defenses.
So far, yeah, they're
But
good defenses.
It's so helpless, though.
It's a division defense too that knows them. But he shouldn't be this bad. He's 31st in PFF in terms of their grades in a clean pocket. I thought that was interesting because it shows it's not all about the pass protection. When they've protected Kenny Pickett, he's looked a little lost, and Troy was quite hard on him. Whenever Troy's hard on the QBs, it's on my radar because he knows, and I don't think he wants to be, but he was more or less saying Pickett is scrambled right now, and I don't think the coordinator helps him. This is a much easier matchup, and they should be better. But I came into this year more worried that, hey, Mike Tomlin, we've been waiting for a special Steelers defense actually for a while. If you get it, this could be a really good team. Their defense has been special, or it was last week certainly. And I think they can hold Vegas down, but I'm just worried about where Pickett's head is at. This is an easier matchup, though. Much easier.
Put it this way. If the Steelers' offense tanks this week, you're very concerned. Like, it becomes a panic situation.
Well, you could have a coordinator switch at some point. Like, Tomlin is now getting asked about Matt Canada regularly, and like, what is special about Matt Canada?
We literally hate when the OCs get blamed like this. Like, we just said that from a clean pocket, Pickett's not playing well. Like,
but is
it really like? And if Matt Canada's bad as I hear on this podcast every year, like Tomlin thought him well enough to keep him in the building.
It was surprising,
and they looked spectacular this summer and through the preseason, and now it's his fault.
Well, I think he was the most surprising coordinator to be retained by any team. I think it was almost a fait accompli among Steelers fans and observers that he was going to go at the end of last year, and then they rallied, and I think that saved his job offensively. He's going against a defense though that's not getting any pressure right now. Max Crosby is all worldly, but you saw last week the Bills did everything possible to try to take him out. He still got his hurries, but no one else is.
Chandler Jones still.
Chandler Jones, we haven't heard any update. I'd be surprised if he returns to this team. Tyree Wilson is a top 10 pick. He's had 47 pressures. I mean, it's 47 pass rush snaps this year.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, would you like to guess how many, in terms of pass rush win rate, he has won?
Oh, this doesn't sound
47.
good. I'm gonna say 4%.
0.
Okay.
He's
trying to be nice.
He's 0 for 47. He has a hurry, but if you go watch the hurry, it's just he loses the rep pretty clearly. And at one point, after like 4 seconds, Russell Wilson just kind of runs over to his side, and I guess that.
You know what I love about you, Greg?
Yeah.
You check that out.
I did want to see that one hurry, and then I saw the 0%. I mean, that's rough. And then they got this other guy, Malcolm Coons. It's tough.
They said he was.
They don't have much of a passer.
Beat reporters said that he was gassed in week 1, like wasn't really looking to be in great shape either. So that's a concerning first-round pick. I would say this about Pittsburgh: you played the Niners, you played the Browns. Again, top defenses. Like, you got the Raiders, you got the Texans a week from now. Let's see where we are after week 4 with Pittsburgh's offense. I think this was like
they need this for your 12 wins.
Well, the 12 win thing is like, well, you're 1-1, so it's not impossible. But like, they're not looking the way I thought they would, from Kenny Pickett on down.
I also want to keep an eye on Jimmy and Devontae. Just he's getting the ball to him. Devontae looks like Devontae, but there's nothing over 20 yards. You know, I think of Devontae, I think of big plays.
Mm-hmm.
That's not really Jimmy's thing, and so that's just something to watch because the catches Devontae's making are like, I feel like he's getting blasted every time he gets it.
Where are those like crossers?
Yeah,
where he's a gazelle just going diagonally toward the end zone. We'd see some of that stuff. It'd be nice. You're right though. At Vegas, at Houston, plenty of time to figure this out on offense. But let's see it.
I like the Steelers to win this straight up 2.5-point dogs. I get what
too.
the Sunday night people are doing here, though. I was like, this is the Sunday night game. It's week 3. It's early before the records are crazy if it happens to go. And these are two of the biggest audiences you got.
Sure.
Pittsburgh and
Vegas, baby, Vegas!
That's the way they think about those things. All right, Monday night. We got 2 games. Mark, this has been a tough Sessler week. You have been pretty fired up behind the scenes about a number of things.
That night I was. Yeah.
But on Monday, you were, I would say, based on text alone, fairly furious about having to watch 2 games at once.
So if I were just like out on the town, right, I'd be fine with 2 games on at once or 10 on at once. But like this is more of a personal work preparation type thing, which is like if you have a job you hate, like you're saying, shut up, you get to go do this. So I get it. So I hate complaining about the role in general. But it's like when you have 2 games on at once, like, and I try to take notes on both games, make observations, because we're going to talk about it 10 minutes later. It's like, you don't have a full night to go rewatch the kind of thing. So it's like, this is like Sundays at 10 a.m. here on the West Coast when you got 10 games exploding. I've got an earpiece from one game in one ear and then the other. And so you got multiple commercials for both feeds happening. You got facts and figures flying. You got 2
earpiece. You have
yeah, I'm trying to watch both things at the same time so I can I know Greg says just turn the sound off on one, but like I like to process visually and like
I think
hear
you're
what's
trying
happening.
to drive yourself nuts. If you have
but
2
it is
games
driving me nuts.
one
Like,
in each
the
ear.
one thing after we get out of Sundays,
that would drive
scenario,
me crazy too, actually.
It's crazy, but like on Monday
That's
night,
a choice.
But we're used to on Monday night
Yes.
having like one game, and it's like I can either watch it alone or with friends and like take notes, and we do our show after, and it's like this. There's something peaceful about focusing on one event, and so when you're giving me 2 at the same time, and you're doing this on Monday night, I don't know who's winning. Because by the way, you're pairing typically a good game with in these 2 weeks. The second Monday night game is clearly a lower card, a lower bill, and I got to deal with Panthers Saints while I'm trying to watch Browns Steelers. Get out of my hair.
It's interesting though. They flipped which game is on ABC because I think the Eagles game, Eagles Bucks, the earlier game is this week. Because this week, if Joe Burrow is healthy, they're both fun games. They're both pretty good games. But Joe Burrow,
but no one expected the Rams to be like the Rams came in as a lower billing. But
yeah,
you're right.
You're right. I'm with you. I don't need to hear about the guy who's selling Windows at a lesser expensive cost because his dad did.
Right. That commercial's happening twice at the same time, and I'm.
But
like,
otherwise,
if my apartment window opened, I would jump out of it.
I just like. I liked when they did the Monday nights where they were at different times. That's all, one at a time.
Right.
But
I'd be fine with that.
I understand.
I'm not saying more football. Oh, it's more football. It's like I get it. It's great, but it's just like when you're trying to hit, you're basically coming at me with 2 snowstorms.
Couple things. This is all great. I understand where you're coming from.
You've had words about it. You've said.
I'm with you.
Too, so.
I'm with you. One thing. I'll throw this out there.
Yeah.
Monday Night Football, one of the games, the main game, quote unquote, Steelers Browns, maybe a little bit heightened Marc Sessler in that moment, and so the fact that there's this second game is leading to a level of agitation that maybe takes Greg and Dan aback a little bit. And then you start, piecing together some of the logic. The Legos start clicking together.
Yeah.
Okay. The other part is, and this is pulling back the curtain, my beloved puppy, Captain, gets clipped by a car in the middle of this game.
Absolutely terrible.
So I'm racing the dog to the vet, and thankfully, by the grace of God, he just got kind of banged on the snout, and he had a laceration on his nose, and he got stitches.
And the driver just took off, by the way, right?
Hit and run. Piece of shit. I'll find you, mother.
Yeah.
And you're going down.
Yep.
Okay.
But let's stay on topic. So I let you guys know that, hey, guys, I'm disconnected from both these games. I'm at the vet. Okay? And the first the first text is, Mark, from you. That's terrible. We'll handle tonight.
That's, I think, trying to be
handle that, and we'll handle this.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not just a great colleague. It's a great friend.
Yeah.
Then some things go sideways in Cleveland world, and there are 12 consecutive texts on this thread while I'm in the waiting room waiting to find out if my dog's going to live. I didn't know how serious it was at first. And I don't know. I don't need to read these.
I don't remember what I wrote, but like.
You want to throw out a couple greatest
I don't
hits?
want to.
Okay,
I don't want to read it. This is like, it's PTSD for me too. Even though I didn't have the dog situation, I was live on Channel 5 in the UK doing the game, trying to have fun. It's a long day for all of us.
Very
Having
emotional.
energy,
Right.
and I'm starting to feel this Marc energy.
I apologize.
It's sinking me down, and I don't want that.
I apologize for that, Greg. I forgot that you were on live television in another country.
So one guy's on live TV.
Yeah,
the other guy's on the vet crossing his fingers that his dog still has a pulse.
And then you got me. It started out good. I was a good professional out of the gate, and then it went south. It's hard to.
You know what, though? When it was showtime, great attitude, shows up.
Oh, yeah.
Great job.
Absolutely, right?
Very good attitude. It's like, sir, we're now ready to give you the information based on our tests about your dog and potential fatal internal injuries. Oh, hold on 1 second. I've got 17 texts in a row. Must be a major emergency. Oh, never mind. Okay, go ahead.
All right. It's very fair. It's very fair.
You're very passionate. The mask slipped a little bit there. That's all.
To say the least.
Your passion is what makes you excellent, though. So
That's why
you
we
don't
love
want
you,
to.
Marc.
You don't want to take away. It's like Josh Allen's playmaking. It's
I
like
think that's a good comparison.
you're gonna get
Right.
some interceptions, but
Yeah.
you don't want to take that away from him.
Anybody else is sending texts like that, knowing the situation I was in. I have an issue with it. With you, I was like, I know why.
I also, on my phone.
Because it was the Nick Chubb night, and
no,
I
there's
said,
that.
you know what?
Yep.
I get it.
You did.
And you just want to shout it at something or connect with somebody about how unfair and cruel the world can be.
Yep, I got it,
said,
and
I get
I
this
know
now.
you're quizzing me always about the Browns fandom thing, and but something clicked in that night when that happened, and then you're losing on national television for like the 800th time in my life to the Pittsburgh Steelers on Primetime, and everyone's giggling and laughing, and your season's gone down the toilet. I started to get agitated, and it started to well up of old emotions. Then it's like, what I'm going to do? I'm going to text my coworkers, angry, endless
Right, I'm gonna
texts.
take my misery and try to spread
You're going to be part of this.
spread it to them.
But I get that.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yes.
My friend.
Only a week ago you were there, so I, if anything, now understand more where you were a week ago. So it.
I
connects
was
us, Dan.
the Rodgers thing straight up catatonic. So there was no texting. Don't text me. I'm not texting anyone.
Yeah.
I've been in that state as well.
Yeah.
More of a rageful state.
I would say in the Rodgers thing, we knew, Greg and I, like unspoken, did we text you? Oh, that's so terrible. What a terrible.
You guys got it too.
Total silence
got it.
because we know what's going on there.
Nailed it. Let's get to these games. So there's 2 games again. Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
for heaven's sake.
But no
And it's
team
happening
from
again in week
Cleveland.
14. So last
Well,
year
I'll
I
be
think they
dead
did
by
this
then.
once. This year they're doing it 3 times, and I do fear for you, Marc, that if it was once last year, it's 3
Right.
times this year.
Oh yeah.
This tank has no reverse gears.
No,
I
no,
think
no,
Oh
it's-
no, that's
I think it's
no, no,
going
no,
up.
That's probably where my
I
agitation
think that's
is
going
rooted.
up.
It's like they never retract. The idea just grows and compounds the amount of
Like,
eyeballs.
oh hi Pandora's box as
Yeah.
it opens and demons fly out,
Yeah.
ruining our primetime football
Hello, Ark of the
experience.
Covenant. Yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles at Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Good game. Two
Good
2-0 teams.
Well, yeah. This is great. You know why I like this? I got to say. Of course, I'm not as high on Baker's chances this season, but it's undeniable that Baker Mayfield is played well for the better part of, I would say, the last 6 quarters. Shaky first half in week 1, great in the second half, played very good football last week, got Tampa Bay 2-0. I love it now. So you have 2 things that are great here. You have a great Philadelphia defense, defending conference champions, but you're sending them on the road, and you have Baker in one of his little Baker zones. And I just think one way or the other,
Baker zone.
yeah, one way or the other, it's going to be explosive. It's either
When
going
I
to
woke
be
up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
it's going to be Baker like exploding like a firework, or going up in flames like a dumpster fire, where that confidence is either going to betray him or it's going to take this team even higher. And then everyone's talking about the Bucs on Tuesday morning.
I am really excited for this game for that reason too, and I'm hopeful there could be a middle ground. And I've never been a big Baker guy. I think he's been very frustrating to watch, but what I've liked about him this year is with this offense, and people saying, "Oh, it takes a long time." He looks more comfortable in this offense than I've seen him in a really long time. On time, showing anticipation. That's what I've never really seen out of Baker, like throwing the ball before the receivers make their cuts. And when you have Godwin and Evans, you can really trust in those guys, and that maybe there is a balance where they don't win this game, and he's not sensational, but he's okay. He's solid, because if that's the Baker we get this year, and that's the one we've seen so far, I think they're a fun team to watch. And there are some spots in this Eagles defense you can attack. Their off-ball linebackers are not great in coverage, and they lost Avonte Maddox, their slot corner. And who was his backup? It was a guy, Zach McPherson, who's also out for the season. So they're on their third slot corner. They're, the middle of the field is a little mushy there, and I think the Bucs going to attack them that way.
I really like what Philadelphia did on the ground last week after I think them coming out of the gate slow has been one of the more surprising elements to this season. You have a double coordinator switch. I thought that on offense there'd be a lot of seamless transition because he was the QB coach a year ago. He's known Jalen Hurts for so long. But last week in a jam, like to come out and run for 259 yards, to own the ball for 21 minutes in the first half, and really like the Vikings climb back into that. But you're doing that on offense, and then on defense, they completely 2 weeks in a row, Patriots held to 76 yards on the ground. Vikings, 28. The Vikings were a one-dimensional attack. So if you can take Tampa's offense and make it, they're not a great run team to begin with, but make them very one-dimensional and put a lot of it on Baker Mayfield, and you got guys like Jalen Carter looking fantastic out of the gate as a rookie. Like, I think this is a situation where we see Philadelphia starting to come into their own and heat up. And the Baker thing, I'm with you. It's been impressive, but like, do we trust that to continue? Do we trust the Bucs to continue? His connection with Mike Evans, though, has been very special. Like when we talk about Devontae Adams and Jimmy G, like Baker and Evans have done a better job than Tom Brady and Evans did a year ago.
Evans looks better. I won't lock this game, though. I thought about it for a second, and I was like, no, I'm giving the Bulls of Sans enough credit where he's going against a quarterback that's struggling. To me, that's the number one story in this game. It's one of the number one stories in the NFL so far this season, that Jalen Hurts has looked uncomfortable, little indecisive, just when he's back there in the pocket. They haven't really used the quarterback run game either. They might go back to that, but they kind of started the season not doing that, and he just hasn't been as decisive. And Bulls is a great test. This is the Bucs team that really made him struggle in that playoff game and had everyone wondering if Jalen Hurts could really make a jump going into last season, and he did it. And Bulls will throw a lot at you, and I think that's a good challenge for Hurts early in the season when he's definitely not playing that well through 2 games. Only 2 games, but it's 2 games. It's quite surprising.
You know what I'm going to do? I am going to do it.
Oh, wow.
I'm locking up the Eagles. On the road. This could be fatal. I'm 0-2 in the
Well, you're a wounded animal yourself.
Yeah.
In the locks. Need this.
I'm the 10th team on that list.
But here's the thing, because I was thinking the other way.
Can you imagine me if I lose my lock on Monday night while 2 Monday night games are happening this time around?
I made
Oh, no.
Oh, God, no.
And it's the earlier
earlier
game.
My thought here is I like the Eagles bringing the Bucs down to earth here. What's the spread? Is it even locked?
4.5.
Yeah, but I don't want to root against Baker. I don't want to be like, oh, God, I don't want, I hope he doesn't continue playing well, because I want a fun, like, crazy game. I'm staying away from primetime this week. I'm doing a lock on the Sunday games.
Yeah.
Let's just get back to that world. But you will be now actively rooting against Baker, which I know you've always liked Baker. So that's a toughie. You're in an interesting spot yourself here.
I don't see it as there's not a lot of energy, anti-Baker energy.
I fear for Monday night. Maybe take the
Greg, I will not text
the
you
Dan catatonic approach.
I vow, Greg, I will not text you at all on Monday.
No, it's fine.
I will not. You're on live television in another nation.
It's fine.
All right, the other Monday night game is the Cincinnati Bengals at home against the LA Rams. Yes. The Bengals 0-2. It really helps schedule-wise, a little bit of a break here, that Burrow's getting another day here, and maybe that helps. We shall see if Joe Burrow plays or not. If Joe Burrow doesn't play, I mean, who's that? Jake Browning?
Yeah.
No, thank you.
If he didn't play, I don't know if we'll have this information. I think I'd lock up the Rams, but at this point, I'm not going to do that.
And here's the thing, like, because of the catastrophe with Aaron Rodgers, we have a whole bunch of jacked up primetime games coming up on the schedule. I do not need to see the backup quarterback of the Bengals on Monday night. So let's just hope Burrow plays. And you know what I'd like to see? Like a gutty Burrow effort where he kind of shreds, and I think he can against the Rams in this spot.
Yeah, I think he can too. I think his struggles were overstated last week. There was a couple drives early, and they just didn't have the ball much. Where there's a drop and guy was out of bounds. I think Burrow played well. I think it was a pretty normal Burrow game aside from the interception. That's a big aside. He doesn't throw many red zone interceptions, but I think he played well. And I don't think this Rams defense is as much as they're doing as well as they can, and I think they found a couple rookies they liked in Kobe Turner and Byron Young. That's what the season's all about. I think they're going to be a bottom 10 defense at best. But I think their quarterback, Matthew Stafford's playing so fast right now, making decisions quickly, and he's on the same page with Puka. He's like sending the same little pre-snap signals to Puka that he would do with Robert Woods. We've been comparing Puka to Cooper Kupp, but our friend Jordan Rodriguez been comparing him to Robert Woods. And she's smarter when it comes to a lot of things, but definitely the Rams. And I think that makes sense, that he's sort of in that Robert Woods role. And, man, I love that. And I love Stafford against this defense who hasn't had any pass rush through 2 weeks. That's what I mean about the Bengals, where I was like, I'm just like a little like, what's going on with the Bengals? Really got steamrolled last week defensively.
We like Captain Lou.
Yeah, I do. They
Maruno,
get it together.
Are we like? I just think it could sometimes be deceiving, especially given the offense's funk and why it probably isn't such a funk that I'm just not. I feel like they're gonna kick.
You might be right that we're overreacting, but if he's not playing in this game, then they could be 0-3, and that's a problem.
That injury just concerns me because it just seems like there's such a realistic chance that nags him all year. I kind of agree with Greg on some of the Zach Taylor critique because, yeah, you've taken a team to a Super Bowl, but this is 2 years in a row where like you've come out of the gate real slow, and it isn't all because of Burrow's health. You can't just pin it all on his calf, and like that your team's been.
All right, that's it.
What?
I wasn't gonna do it. I was gonna move to Sundays, but if Joseph Burrow plays this football game, and that's the caveat, I am locking up the Bengals. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear Captain Lou slander. Zach Taylor's a bum. Don't want to hear it. Joe Burrow, will he ever be the same this year? I know what this team is made of. They are a bunch of tough SOBs, and they are not going to lose in their building and go 0-3 under any circumstances if that man is on the field at quarterback. So, yes, give me the Bengals. Cincinnati Zoo.
Yeah, but what if
hold on,
it's a game-time decision?
Yeah, what if it's a scenario where you've not locked a game all week, and then you've locked the Bengals, and then Burrow we find out at 6
tough
p.m.
Sitch.
Not.
I'm in a tough sitch.
You could flip over to the Eagles, I guess, if you need
If it comes down to that, I'll have to do, obviously, an emergency pivot to the earlier game, but I don't want to do it.
If they're such a tough team, why would you not lock them up with or without Burrow?
Because they have a top 3 quarterback in the whole league.
I mean, locking up Jake Browning is more of a.
You know what? It's a good question. It's fair. It is fair to say that.
You talked about the whole roster, not just.
You're right, and yet, I just can't ride with Jake.
Yeah.
Jake, I can't ride with Jake.
No, I mean, that would be crazier than what the Wesleyan brothers did last week. In my humble opinion, the Rams have been a better team through 2 weeks than the Bengals, and then you throw Jake Browning in there, forget about it.
And if there's some discouraging reports come out in the next 3 or 4 days, I can get ahead of it and maybe move back to Sunday. We'll see. But right now, I think Joe, barring a setback even from where he was Sunday, he's thinking to himself, I cannot not be on the field with my guys when we need this ball game. I believe. It's about heart, too.
I like your luck.
It's about heart, too. We
got heart.
We got to go. Hey, so again, thank you to everybody. It's a technicality, but there are limited tickets still remaining. They might even be sold by now for the London show. Check our socials. The general on sale is Friday. We have our Thursday preview coming up, Thursday night recap, and also NFL Plus with Colleen Wolfe, special guest. You do not want to miss that one. I promise you. Heed the call.